some folks will continue joining us. Um, we are going to record this, so by staying on, you consent to being recorded. This workshop will live in our on the website. So if you need to access it before you visit us in San Francisco, you will have access to do so. So we'll go ahead and get started with the agenda. We've got some items prepared for you all, but really we want to make sure that your questions are answered through this process. So we know that you may have questions as you get ready to present over the next couple of weeks. But through the agenda, we hope to share some key information about both presenting at NODAC and your sessions and those informations. Building an accessible presentation. So we want to chat through the templates and the items that we've provided for you all as well. We do have a small packing list for you all that we will go over with you too. The ability to promote your presentation on social media. We've got some what's next information that is there for you as well. And then we've got time for questions throughout this process. So awesome. So to get started, if we haven't met yet, I know Drew and I have hosted these workshops throughout the last year or so, but excited to meet you and have so many folks here that will be presenting. My name is Austin McDonald. I use he, him pronouns. I serve as the Associate Director of Orientation at the University of Maryland, and I am one half of the Ed Programming co-chairs.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Drew Nicholas. I use she, her pronouns. I work at the University of California's Washington, D.C. program, and I am the other half of the Educational Programming Subcommittee.
Awesome. So we've got some key information that we want to share. A lot of this has been given to you through different communications and those types of things, but we just wanted to set a reminder for you, again, as you are beginning and preparing to present your session. So in Session Eyes, you should be able to review your session, and so making sure that those details are clear and concise. You will be able to see your presentation date, time, and room location. And so with that, there are 9 educational session blocks, and you will be assigned to one of those. And we released that 2 weeks ago or so. So you should be able to log into Session Eyes, look at your specific session that you're presenting on that has been accepted, and see those details there. As far as room layout goes, if you submitted as a roundtable session, then you will be in a roundtable room. Outside of that, we will have a couple of other options as well. So classroom, theater. We've got a couple of rooms that have mixed of classroom and theater and those kinds of things. And so just want you to know that you might be assigned to any of those rooms if you aren't specific to roundtables or those kinds of things. We do want to note that this year our educational session rooms are a bit larger than they have been the last couple of years, which is a great thing, a great problem to have. But just note that your capacity might be a little bit larger than what you expected, but that is pretty consistent across the board. So we've got capacities that range anywhere from 60 members and then some that go up to 175. And so things might feel a little bit bigger for you all. And as presenters, we wanted you all to know that so you have an idea of what you may be getting into. Um, as you all are getting ready to set up at the conference, make sure that you're allowing yourself time to set up before your session begins. And so if you are in the morning of educational programming, you'll be able to, one of the morning blocks, you'll be able to access your room at any point. If you are back to back, so if you're going after another ed session block, you've got a 10-minute buffer. And so we encourage you to be waiting as the other presenters are wrapping up. So that way, as soon as they are finished, you're able to go in and make sure that you get set up before the block begins so you can have all the time that you need. When you are creating your slides, Drew will talk about building your template in your presentation here in just a minute. We have those templates that we sent out a few weeks ago, so make sure you're utilizing those. This is an example of that. Drew also just included the Canva and Google Slides version in the chat as well. So you should have those there. With that, make sure that you're including an intro slide, like we had at the very beginning of this presentation, and then the closing slide at the very end with the QR code. We will ask that you all are prompting folks to fill out that QR code before they leave your room to make sure that we continue to evaluate and improve the educational programming process.
Awesome. So, Austin touched on this. We're going to dive a little bit more into building an accessible presentation. So things that we want to keep you in mind, want you all to keep in mind and practice. With your presentations, we ask that you practice just to make sure the conference is as accessible to everyone attending as possible. So all of this can be found in the presenter guide that was shared with you all earlier, as well as it is in the chat now for you all. But key things we wanted to kind of send out some reminders on. So whether you're using the PowerPoint version, the Canva, or the Google Slide version, in the presenter's guide, there are accessibility guides. So using each of those platforms to ensure that your presentation is accessible to a variety of needs. So definitely check out those guides depending on which version of the slide deck you're using. Just to get their tips from the folks who created the platforms. It's a nice way to just kind of do a cross-reference to make sure your slides are readable, they meet all the guidelines, and you're using the platforms to the best of your ability. Key things to keep in mind if you're using videos or images in your presentation, there are ways to embed alternative text for images that you include. This is extremely helpful if you are going to be sharing your slides out afterwards. That way folks who are visually impaired can click on or hear the image being described versus having to see it. And as well as if you're including videos, please include closed captioning on those videos. There's various platforms you can use to add captions without editing the video yourself. YouTube does an okay job with generating closed captions. Vimeo is the other one I've used in the past, but we do ask that you use closed captions on your videos just so the audio isn't the only way that folks can understand the content being shared in that media. As far as fonts and presentation colors, the branded slides that we have shared with you all meet all of the necessary font and color guidelines in order to be accessible, readable, and usable by any individual. But fonts that we definitely encourage you to use if you're playing with fonts, Tahoma, Veranda, and Georgia are the most accessible and widely used fonts to ensure that anyone could read the text on your content. And then you'll get access to these slides in the follow-up email, but linked here is a color contrast analyzer. So it'll look at your font versus your background and make sure that everything is visible and understandable by anyone, regardless of visual ability. And again, review the presenter's guide for the full guidance and information. There's a lot in there. Most of it is about accessibility. So if you haven't checked that out yet, definitely check that out. And then some presentation reminders along with accessibility. So when you are presenting, we ask that you verbally read the slide content aloud. While it's not always considered best practice in presentation skills to be reading out your content, we do ask that you do just in case there are folks with visual impairments in the room. Allow enough space for accommodations in the room. Like Austin mentioned, we are fortunate this year. The rooms are larger than we've seen in the past few years with NODAC conferences. So our volunteers will be in the room, and as well as we'll have conference staff kind of arranging rooms that should be already preset for anyone who needs physical accommodations. But as the presenter, unfortunately, Austin and I can't be in every room. So if you do have the opportunity to help someone, please feel free to move chairs or things around to accommodate anyone in the room as well. Every room will be set up with AV and microphones will be available. We ask that you use the microphones to present, even in a small group, just so an individual doesn't have to ask for that accommodation. It's already being guaranteed to them that that will be provided. So please use the microphones. We will have AV support on hand and there'll be volunteers near every presentation space. So if you're having any issues with the microphones or the AV, anything with the AV, please flag down or find any conference volunteer or anyone on the committee, and we'll get AV to you very quickly so we can make adjustments to make sure all of that is working properly. And then again, please use closed captions. There's ways to embed them into your PowerPoint too if you want to get creative with that. Our ask is that you do it with videos, but there's tons of ways to do that with other parts of your presentation as well if you're willing to do that.
Absolutely. So another thing that we want to note is that this year we are trying to track attendance at all of our sessions, and so we want to have a rough idea of how many people attended each of your educational sessions. So with that, you will have a list in your room whenever you get there with a sheet of paper that has the different sessions that are happening in that room, and then a quick range. You'll be able to circle, okay, there were 20 to 30 people in here. There were 30 to 40. Just kind of give us an estimate as we prepare in the future. So that is something that is new, and I want to make sure that we highlighted that for you all as well. On that, we will also put a contact information for you. So if you have difficulty or need assistance during that time, you'll be able to reach out somebody from the committee and we'll be able to assist you in those moments. Next, we have a packing list for you all. And so we want to go over some things that would be useful as you are prepping your session or your presentation. Please make sure that you download a copy of your presentation. So you're welcome to edit it, Google slide, or if you're using Canva. There is Wi-Fi in the hotel, but as we all know in orientation land, that things can be tricky and sometimes things don't always work out the way they are supposed to. So before you arrive to your room, we encourage you to go ahead and download a hard copy on your presentation on your hard drive, so you have that as you need it, just in case. If you are a person that uses notes as you are presenting, please make sure that you print those out or prepare ahead of time to have those as a hard copy. You are also welcome to use an iPad or any electronic versions, of course, but if you want a pre-printed hard copy of notes, make sure that you're doing that, along with any handouts that you plan to give out during your session. That is not something that the conference committee will be able to provide for you on site. And then as you are preparing for in the room, we will have the items that are listed in the presenter guide that will be there for you, but make sure that you're bringing your own computer to set up chargers so that way you have that as well. If you are using a specific plugin for your computer, if you need an adapter for that, we encourage you to bring that to have that on site as well. There will be an HDMI or USB-C cord in each of the rooms. However, we encourage you, if you have one, to bring that as well. Items typically walk off between presenters or stuff. Someone accidentally packed it, whatever it may be. So having one on hand will be helpful. And then we encourage you to bring a clicker if you would like to utilize that as well. So that's a list of items. Bring the things that you would feel comfortable with. And so if you feel like, oh, I need that to make sure I have a successful session, we want to make sure that you have what you need, for sure.
Yeah. And on that cord thing, I believe it's just an HDMI cord that will be in the room, assuming it stays in the room the entire conference. So if you have a USB-C connection, you're going to need to bring an HDMI to USB-C adapter. Awesome. So then promoting your presentation. Fortunately, we've seen some of y'all already starting to do this, but we wanted to share a reminder. So we would love for you all to promote your participation in the conference. We know how hard you all are working on your presentation, so please get folks excited for it. When you are on Sessionize, you can download a social banner and share your presentation on whatever network you want to. They're already pre-programmed for you. It'll populate all the information. And so the link here, we'll put that in the chat as well as it'll be shared afterwards. That shows you how to access that social banner on Sessionize. And so this is a sample of what it'll look like. We'll have the conference logo, the name of the conference, and that you're part of the educational programming. And then it'll pre-add in your name and the profiles of all of your presenters. So this is our community partner, so you'll learn more about this at the opening in just a few weeks. But also wanted to share this so that you can see also if any of your members don't want to include a profile photo or just haven't uploaded theirs, this is what it looks like if a member doesn't have a profile photo up. So it'll still include their name that is attached to the presentation, and then it'll have the space here. We know some folks are having issues uploading their photos, so if that is the case, feel free to email the NODA committee email, which we'll share here at the end. And Austin and I can also add the photos in on the administrative side as well, so we can work through any issues on that if we need to. But please promote yourselves. We're excited to hear your presentation, so please get folks excited ahead of time.
Yes, feel free to tag Noda, Noda OTR as you do so as well. So that way many members can see what is expected at the conference.
And then next steps. So some things to look forward to. Obviously, we're just a few short weeks away, but we wanted to remind everyone the conference registration deadline is October 20th. You must be registered in order to present. So while you have been accepted to present, if you haven't registered for the conference yet, you won't be able to present when you arrive. So be sure to make that registration deadline. Hopefully you know if you're registered or not. We'll be emailing anyone who has not registered and is slated to present as well. So you'll get an email reminder if that is the case for you, but wanted to put that out there. Also, there are still spaces available. So if you have any colleagues who are still looking to figure out what they're doing with their professional development funding, feel free to encourage them to attend. This week, starting next week as well, will be our Know Before You Go week as an entire conference. So every day on the NODA Instagram, there will be a takeover from each subcommittee, letting you know things to think about, things to pack, things to get excited for. So definitely be following NODA_OTR on Instagram and check out our story every day to get updates about the conference for all of next week. And then the conference app will be available this Friday. So you'll get an email if you are registered for the conference on Friday, giving you a link to access the app and download the guide. So you'll be able to see everything. That also means the conference schedule will be available fully on Friday. So you can start planning which sessions you're attending in addition to your own. So very exciting that the conference app will be available this Friday. And lastly, we will see you in just over 2 weeks. We're excited. NODAC will be the 24th through the 27th. If you're attending any of the pre-conferences, we'll see you even before then. But yeah, we are in the home stretch and excited to see all of y'all's hard work come to light.
And we know that you all may have questions for us. And so feel free to put those questions in the chat if you want to unmute, if you're able to, and ask. We are happy to answer questions that you may have about educational programming or really any NODAC general questions. And if you don't have specific questions, we'll give it another minute. But okay, great. Raven, thanks for submitting it. Did you have any tips for accessibility or guidelines for the fair? Great question. So the research and resource fair is something new that we are doing for the conference committee this year. That'll take place on Sunday afternoon. As far as accessibility goes, if you are providing handouts, I think that is a great way to be accessible. A lot of it is conversations that you will have, and so those that need accessibility requests will be able to request that through the conference committee. But I would say handouts, those that they're doing a poster, that is a great way to communicate with folks as well. Drew, do you have anything that you can think of?
That was the big thing. A lot of the accessibility notes in the presenter's guide as it relates to PowerPoint, as far as fonts and colors, relates to whether you're doing resource or a poster as well. So reference those in creating your materials. And if you have questions or want additional guides, feel free to email us and we can share some additional guides as well.
Great. And then Taylor asked about the type of PowerPoint template. So you can choose either the Canva or Google Slides. Whenever you download it, it should include the fonts and those kinds of things that are there for you. And so you can try either option of what works best for you. One of the links takes you to immediately make a copy of it as well.
And I get that same notice, Taylor. And when I hit remove restricted fonts, all of the NODA branded fonts are still there. So I don't know what fonts it's removing, but you should be able to use that. If you hit remove restricted fonts, you can still use all of the fonts that are in there.
All right, Jacob asked, this is a great question. When would you expect the last date for the sessions to be moved? For example, if folks are signing up for one session in mass, I assume you try to give them a larger room. Yes, how would those be communicated? We are finalizing the details. Actually, today is our deadline to send over the final schedules for the app and edits and those kinds of things. And so a bulk of those have already been done. If you have edits, we've closed the ability for you to make those in Sessionize. If you have pertinent edits that need to be made, feel free to email nodac2025@umn.edu. Um, we will, once we get on site and the app goes live, we will continue to monitor the folks that are RSVPing for the different sessions and move those as needed. We will try our best to be ahead of that as we are on site and making sure that we communicate with the folks that are being affected as well. We will go ahead and say that you won't be moved the day of for your session. That is not something that Drew and I are interested in doing. So you will at least be the day before or a couple of days as we continue to monitor the app. So it definitely won't be right before you present or anything like that. But yes, we will monitor that.
And if you do get moved to a different room or a different time block, the session owner is who will get that email. We only have the ability to email the folk whoever it submitted your proposal. So just make sure whoever the person is that has managed the submission of your proposal is checking their email, because that's who will message if we have to make any changes.
Yes, we always have to communicate with the session owner. It's important. All right, Sarah, what about the content that does not fit smoothly into the templates? Are we able to adjust sizing, etc., to fit correctly? Yes. As far as using the template goes, you have the font, the colors, those kinds of things that are already in there. You can adjust the size or whatever you may need if you are inserting a picture or those kinds of things um, to make sure that it is fitting your abilities as you need. Do not worry about, and especially if you have to like remove a background or those kinds of things, if that's what you need to do to make sure that your presentation is a success, feel free to do so. Drew, would you add anything there?
Nope.
Cool. These are great questions. Love them. All right, so we've got one in regards to the R&R fair, is what we've been calling it. If you print your poster on fabric, how would that be displayed? So we will actually have bulletin boards there with push pins. So regardless if you're printing it and laminating it or bringing it on fabric, you will have a bulletin board that will be there to display it on. So either of those should work. If you are bringing a resource, you will be at a cocktail table that you will be able to utilize your supplies on and those kinds of things. We are still finalizing the layout of the room and how many people are doing the different um, R&R. And so you may be sharing a cocktail table, having presenters or participants on either side, but that we will have a map that will indicate where you will be on the day of. We are identifying how to group the participants as best as possible. So more information will be coming soon for the R&R fair. We love questions. What else you got? Drew and I can hang back if you have additional questions that you didn't want to ask in the group. And as always, feel free to follow up with us through the NODAC email. And make sure that you're following NODA OTR on Instagram for our Know Before You Go week. We're really excited about that. We hope you have a great afternoon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.